Welcome everyone. Now, we can't wait to shed some light on those niggling email marketing questions that you've always wanted to ask. I've split today's webinar into 3 different groups. First up, I'll cover off the questions that me and my colleagues hear from our customers every day. These are the burning questions at the root of a successful email marketing campaign. These answers are designed to inspire your own email marketing efforts. The second part of the webinar is to wrap up some of the best questions I received from you guys. I was so pleased to get through so many. And finally, for the last question, Jamin will take you through a cutting-edge email trend called interactive emails. Anyway, let's jump right in. This is without a doubt the #1 question that we get asked about email marketing. And I get why. We spend so much time creating beautiful emails filled with engaging content, but that's all wasted if no one opens your email. The very best way to get your email opened is to send engaging, relevant, and timely content, because this will strengthen your reputation as someone your customers want to receive emails from. And other things also play a part in whether someone will open your email, such as your from name, pre-header text, how frequently, and the time of day that you send. But today I want to cover off some quick tips perfect for if you've got your email ready to send out but need to craft an engaging subject line. Studies have found that 33% of recipients open emails based on their subject line alone, so this stuff really matters. You can debate subject line length and if the word free will get your emails marked as spam till you're blue in the face, but it's undeniable that your subject line must be interesting. Here's a few tips to help you create interesting subject lines. First, focus on the benefit. What's in it for your readers? If you can answer this question with your subject line, you're more than likely to inspire your customers to open. Offer something of value, because if your subject line helps your customers by offering something they want, you're likely to gain their attention. Be timely by including something that's top of mind for your customers, whether it's leveraging seasonal events or a topic that people are talking about right now. Ask a question. According to Litmus, subject lines framed as questions perform better. Think about your customers' needs and unanswered questions. Create urgency, because people tend to respond well when time is running out. Urgency drives emotion and emotion drives action. Use a call to action. Now, we know CTAs are important in your email content, but they can work well in the subject line too. People respond well when you ask or tell them to do something. Use testimonials. This shows your readers that other people value your products and services. For example, something like "The Kardashians love us, do you too?" Something like that to get a testimonial in is a good way to boost your subject line. Now, we know that numbers speak louder than text. So for example, you'd always use 50% off rather than half price, as people tend to respond better to these numbers. Next up, be clear about what your email contains. Set your readers up for a positive experience by creating an informative and accurate subject line. The last thing you want to do is trick your customers into opening your email. A deceptive subject line can leave a bad taste in your reader's mouth. I recently received an email from one of my favorite online retailers with the subject line, "This email will change your life." Even though deep down I knew it wasn't going to change my life, I had pretty high expectations when opening the email. I was very disappointed to see that the email contained a slightly discounted pair of jeans. It definitely didn't change my life. I deleted the email and I felt a bit bitter towards the brand ever since. So set expectations and deliver on promises that your subject line makes. This will help you get more opens in the future because it will improve your sender reputation. We know that relevance is an essential ingredient for email marketing, and one way to ensure that your emails are relevant is to personalize them. A recent study from Experian found that emails with a personalized subject line are 26% more likely to be opened. When you segment your database and send personalized emails to your customers, your emails are naturally more engaging to that audience. Test your subject lines and measure your results. What might work for one business might not work for another. As there's no one-size-fits-all rule with subject lines, it's worth experimenting to figure out what works best for your business and customers. Test out different approaches and measure your results so that you can repeat success. There's so many mixed opinions about email subject lines. Remember to focus on what works for you. We all want our emails to look crash hot, but sometimes they just don't turn out how we're hoping. Maybe they're not looking quite as slick as you'd like them to. I want to share some really quick tips that are super easy to implement. They might seem small, but I promise they will make a big difference to your final email. Using a bold hero image helps your reader to focus on what's important. You want your image to be eye-catching without being distracting. It's worth noting that an image can actually make or break an email because it's generally the first thing that your reader sees when they open it, and it can be the deciding factor on whether they want to keep reading or delete an image. Buttons are also very powerful. They're the perfect place to put your call to action, and they're far easier to click or touch compared to text links. Animated GIFs are also a great way to add a little movement into your email and can help catch your reader's eye. What can set an awesome email apart from the rest is having that little extra polish, like using a consistent font for all of your text and headings. You don't need to stick to black text either. In fact, emails tend to look better with a shade of grey rather than the default black text. And this last point is one that I want everyone to take away. Increase your line spacing. It makes your emails easier to read, instantly adds space to your email, and it gives you a sleeker look. I recommend using a line height of 1.5 or even 1.8. You can make your emails and call to actions pop by using a striking color or pattern, especially in the background. Some of the most eye-catching emails are a little more than text backed up with a great color or pattern. When you're working on your images, formatting your text and inserting call to actions, a bit of extra white space and padding can make your emails look great. It can make them easier to read and subsequently easier to click on. White space and padding give more impact to your overall email design, so don't scrimp on either. For anyone that's interested, we always use padding of 50 pixels as a minimum for all of our emails. Sending the same old tired and dated emails doesn't work, so I wanted to share with you some of the latest trends to help you supercharge your email marketing. Now, I have a mild online shopping addiction, which means I get a lot of transactional emails. Everything from invoices to receipts right through to delivery notices. But what surprises me is that the majority of these emails have zero branding. The good news is that we're starting to see more and more businesses put effort into their transactional emails, and it's well worth it because 64% of consumers consider transactional emails to be the most valuable in their inbox. So you certainly don't want to waste this opportunity. We're seeing more and more people embrace video in emails, which is excellent because a recent Wistia study found that adding in video to your email campaigns can increase click-through rates by 300%. There's two main ways to add in a video. You can add a static image to your email that looks like a video and links through to a landing page with a video, or you can add a video to the inbox using HTML. A word of warning, this second HTML style isn't supported by all email clients. Plus, it's actually harder to edit and resize videos and emails compared to images, so you lose a little control. For these reasons, I recommend using the static version for the time being. Animated GIFs aren't new, but they are sticking around. Some people have a misguided idea that animated GIFs are tacky or garish, but this isn't the case. Animated GIFs are a great way to add a sense of delight for your readers. Plus, they can be used to showcase products and the retail industry does this really well. I love this example up on screen because it's a really clever way to draw the reader's eye to the call to action. There's a few programs online that can help you create your own animated GIF, or if you're a bit of an Adobe savvy, you do this yourself using After Effects or Photoshop. Most of us would love to increase sales and conversions with email marketing, but the last thing we want is to come across as the pushy door-to-door salesman. I'm going to share some tried and tested tactics of what some of the best email marketers are using to create emails that sell without scaring away their customers. By including customer testimonials or case studies, you build up credibility with your readers. This approach demonstrates that your goods are worth being purchased without the cheesy sales pitch. Don't dive straight into your latest deal or promotion, but rather set the scene for the email by acknowledging your customer's problem or pain point. Once you've got them on board and gained their trust, then you can introduce the solution, which is your product or service. Hot tip, one way to do this is to tell a story. Storytelling is an effective way to engage your reader and hold their interest. We actually do this with our onboarding emails here at Vision 6. So that means that every email we send out to a new customer acknowledges a challenge or a pain point that that customer might be facing. And then we take them on a little story and then present a solution, which is Vision 6. So what we've found since implementing this style of email is we're getting far more people clicking through and logging back into our systems. So we've seen this to be really effective. I know I keep going on about images, but that's because they really do matter. If your products or services lend themselves to imagery, then make the most of it in your email. And even if they don't lend themselves to imagery, there's always a creative way to get your story across. Include eye-catching images that help tell your story. And just a word of warning, be wary of stock photos. You don't want your email to look like every other email out there. In fact, I would actually encourage you, where possible, to try taking your own photos. That's something else that we've been doing recently here at Vision 6, is taking our own photos for our emails. None of us are professional photographers, but with editing software, we can produce a pretty nice looking image, and that way we know that our email is not going to look like anyone else's. Don't be afraid to repeat your key message throughout your email. In an ideal world, people would read every single one of your lovingly crafted sentences. In the real world, they skim emails. A clever way to repeat your message without boring your reader to tears is to use different angles, such as the ones outlined in this example. You can tell a story, use a case study or an analogy. A word of warning, don't go overboard with your repetition. That's a surefire way to come across as salesy. Your reader's time is precious, so don't waste it. Personalization. Just including someone's first name isn't enough these days. The more relevant your email is to your customers, the more likely they are to be engaged and want to make a purchase. Your email can make their life easier by including highly relevant information, such as the nearest store location and live maps. We're seeing more and more brands start to do this, and for anyone who's listening that's used Uber, they're actually a really good example. They bring in the map of the trip that you've just taken in the car live into your email. So that's a fantastic example. Keep an eye out on Uber's emails. They do some really cool stuff. Building trust with your email subscribers is important. As marketers and business owners, we need our customers to trust us and our messages. Sadly, spammers have taught many people to be suspicious of email marketing, which means it's our job to win back their trust. Luckily, many components of an effective and engaging email marketing campaign also work towards building trust. So why is this my first point? Because according to the Australian Email Marketing Metrics Report, over 50% of emails are opened on a mobile device. That's a pretty big number. You don't want to annoy nearly half of your customers who try to read your email on their phone. Also, recent studies have actually found that 80% of people who receive emails that are difficult to read on mobiles will simply delete it. So it's really essential that your emails are optimized for mobile devices. So including full sender details in your footer, not only is this a Spam Act requirement, but by clearly stating who the email is from, you're accepting accountability for that email. Include your organization's name and address, and make sure the reply to email address is working and monitored. It's not unusual for people to respond to emails with questions and requests. And I recommend you actually consider putting the name of the person who sends the email, because again, this makes your brand seem more human, and that person is stepping up and accepting responsibility for that email. As you can see with all of our emails, we always include the name of the person who sent it. And it's actually not unusual for people to reply to these emails with, "Hi Kelly, I've just got a question," or whatever it may be. So people do pay attention to this smaller stuff. Don't overhype your emails by using embellished language such as once in a lifetime opportunity. That sort of language is a surefire way to get marked as spam. Our customers are savvy, so you're better off keeping it straight and simple. Tell it like it is, because the last thing you want is for your customers to be left feeling disappointed or even worse, deceived. This example from Virgin Mobile is a great example of using realistic language. The subject line is, "Hi Kelly, get 1 free gig of data each month you listen to Gavira." There's no over-the-top language, just telling it how it is, and the whole email takes that approach. It's actually a really great deal, but because they kept down to earth, I was really engaged by the email. Now, by asking your customers to reply to your emails with suggestions or queries, you're cementing your business in their minds as a real and easily contactable. Make sure you respond meaningfully and quickly to any replies, because positive human interaction is a great way to build trust. Time is precious. I'm pretty sure everyone here wishes they had a bit more of it. I can't magically add any minutes to your day, but I can share with you some tools that I use all the time that helps me save a bit of time with email marketing. So I hate wasting time with tasks like importing and exporting data. So luckily in today's day and age, we can integrate our various marketing platforms with email marketing to save time. Zapier works as a third-party integrator that can easily connect to your email marketing with hundreds of other apps. So whether that's your CRM, your CMS, whatever it may be, you can now integrate the two. Next up, if you're working with images, Canva should be your go-to place. If you want to design any nice imagery or element for your email, this is a fantastic place to do it. What I like about it is that it's got everything in the one spot. There's images, filters, icons, shapes, and fonts all there ready to go, and it's really easy to use. On the topic of images, thanks to the Creative Commons license, there are now more free stock image sites than ever before. I've popped a couple of my favorites up on screen, but there's heaps more out there. Just make sure you read the small print to ensure they're suitable for your needs. And finally, long gone are the days when you'd waste time sending emails to different clients and devices to check how they look. Email client testing using an app like Litmus is the fastest way to ensure that your emails will look great on every device and email client. If you send an email and it doesn't perform as well as you hoped, should you resend it to people who didn't open it? This is a pretty common question. And in some instances, you can resend an email to those who didn't open it the first time around. But the content must be valuable and you have to change your approach. If you're planning on doing a resend, here's my tips for resending emails to non-openers. Firstly, only resend the most important email campaigns. Imagine how annoyed a person could get if you resent every email they did not open. Also, it can train people to ignore your message if they know that you'll resend it anyway. Next, tweak your subject line. The subject line plays an important part in getting your reader to open the email. If they didn't open the first one, they're unlikely to open it a second time around unless you do something different. Make sure you adjust the timing of your send. Look at your previous email campaigns and check how much time it takes for most people to open them. Often this is around 3 days, but check your own reports. Don't resend your email within this time frame. Give all your customers time to open your original email. And finally, measure the impact, both the good and the bad. Be sure to measure the unsubscribe rate of your email resend and weigh this up against the additional conversions that it creates. If too many people are dropping off your list because of the resend, it probably isn't worth it. While the smartwatch has been available for a while now, the arrival of the Apple Watch has launched wearable comms into the mainstream. Although currently it's a small section of the market, it's still worth considering how people interact with wearable devices and what it means for your email marketing. Email marketing is still effective, but the smartwatch brings with it some new challenges for us because it's unlikely that your customers will be reading the full email on their smartwatch. There's a couple of things to keep in mind. The watch displays only the plain text part of your email. When the watch notices an image in your email, it's considered too hard and the plain text version is displayed instead. So if you send your emails without a plain text alternative, you run the risk of zero engagement. Keep your content short. This is a bit of a given considering how small the screens are. It's simply not practical to read long-form content on a watch. The majority of email clients track opens when an image is downloaded. As smartwatches don't download images, tracking this becomes a bit of a problem. This means that technically someone could read and absorb your email without ever opening it on their phone or computer. Okay, so I've got a few tips to make your emails look better on smartwatches. Firstly, your sender details become even more important for wearable devices. This is because they're displayed as part of the notification. So make sure you use a recognizable from name, either your own name or your business name, whatever your customers are more familiar with. With such a small screen size and minimal amount of information displayed, it's important to consider the length of your subject line. You should aim to keep your subject line short, think 3 to 6 words, or alternatively put the important stuff up the front so it's not cut off. Your pre-header text is the first line of your email and it takes up precious space on a watch, so don't waste it with something useless like view online because your readers actually won't be able to do that with the watch. Make the most of this text to grab your reader's attention so that they flag the email to read later on or act on your point straight from their watch. Do you find that some of your customers never open your emails? It's worth taking the time to improve your list quality. There's no point having people on your list that never ever engage with your emails. Firstly, if you're in a position where you have a bunch of subscribers who don't open your emails, I'm a believer in taking the time to attempt to re-engage those subscribers. After all, you probably worked hard to get them on your list in the first place. The key is to do something different because whatever you're currently doing mustn't be working for them. Change your approach to catch their attention. Try a different approach with your subject line. Use something that'll really catch their attention and pique curiosity. And think about sending your email from a different from name and even using a plain text email instead of HTML. Segment your database and use the information you have about your customers to send a highly personalized email. A plain text email is a great way to do that. If you've tried a couple of different approaches to re-engage subscribers and nothing has worked, it might be time to consider deleting them. This is a really big decision, so don't rush into it and make sure you have a clear strategy behind your actions. As I sort of mentioned, before deleting anyone, make sure you give your subscribers multiple options to keep on hearing from you. And if you do decide to give your subscribers one final chance to stay on your list, make sure it's really easy for them to indicate that they don't want to be deleted. A single click of a link is ideal. Mid last year, oh, actually, no, sorry, we're in 2016 now. Mid 2014, Google updated the Gmail interface to include tabs, which separate your incoming emails into specific categories. So there's now a primary tab, a social tab, and a promotions tab. Even if you don't use Gmail as your own email client, this is important because a significant portion of your audience may do. So when Gmail introduced tabs, many marketers worried that subscribers would overlook mail in the promotions tab and that this was actually going to be a really big deal and the end of email marketing to Gmails. Fortunately, studies have shown that people use the promotions tab. So according to a recent study of 3 million Gmail users, the tabs improved deliverability, increased open rates, and actually decreased spam complaints. So this is a really good thing for email marketing. Now, despite that, if part of your strategy, for whatever reason, is to get your emails into the primary inbox, there's a couple of things you can do. You can specifically ask your customers to move your email into their primary inbox, or you can ask them to add your address to their address book. So I've seen some brands do this well, but your customers still need to see the email in the first place. There's a couple of tips you can apply to your emails to improve the chance that they'll land in the primary inbox. Now, I'm not suggesting that you apply all of these tips, nor am I suggesting that your email needs to be in the primary inbox. But if for whatever reason you want a specific email to end up, then here's a couple of ideas. Don't use spammy language in your emails. Gmail is pretty good at picking up promotional emails, and a lot of that comes down to the language that's used. If you include fewer links in your email, it's less likely to be flagged as promotional. Sending a text-only email is another way to try and get past the promotional tab. This is because when you think about it, most non-marketing emails are plain text. Google sees images as a sign of a promotion message. You will increase your readership by having less pictures. Address the reader by their first name and talk to your reader as if they're your friend rather than a subscriber. So these are all tips to help you end up in the promotional tab. Now, this question comes up time and time again, and unfortunately there's no one size fits all. The only correct answer is whenever works best for you and your customer. And the only way to find that out is to test different times of day and measure your results. But I know that's not what people want to hear, so I'll tell you a couple of things. From the Australian Metrics report, we see that Sunday has the highest open rate and often the least emails sent. So don't automatically discount the weekend as the inbox is often less cluttered. Now, although there is a slight dip in click-through rates on the weekend, there is still no perfect time to send. So you need to weigh up that slight dip in click-through rates versus a potential higher open rate. If you know your audience well, you should be familiar with their habits and routines. Figure out when they're most receptive to receiving your emails and then test it out. Another thing to remember is that thanks to the unified inbox, more and more people have multiple inboxes linked to their mobile phone. For example, most people now have both their personal and work emails synced up to their mobile. So this means that mobile users aren't restricted to reading work emails Monday to Friday from 9 to 5. So this is further blurring the line about the best time to send a corporate email versus a personal email. Unfortunately, to have a conclusive answer, you have to test it out and find out what works best for your business. So I'm really glad that these questions came through because automation is such a powerful email marketing tool. and I'm always happy to talk about it. One of the biggest challenges that people face with more complex automation campaigns and lifecycle marketing is planning the campaign. Often people try to jump in straight away and create the emails without taking the time to lay it all out. Firstly, you need to figure out what you want to achieve with your automated campaign. Is it all about event management or a sales funnel? Work out what it is you want to get out of it and then map everything out, including the emails and their content, web forms, and what database fields you need. Once you've got a rough idea about this, then it actually becomes a lot easier to create the triggered campaign. Another thing to consider is to start small and work your way up. Don't jump in with the most complex automated campaign that you can think of, because you can always add additional steps as you become more familiar with automation. So emails going wrong. It's what we all dread. One mistake I see all too often is the dreaded word test appearing in the subject line that's been sent out to an entire database. I always feel for the poor sender. But the worst email I've ever seen, here it is. And okay, I've cheated. It's not a real life example, but sadly, it does highlight a few mistakes I see all too often. Emails that are jam-packed with too much content, including multiple columns that don't have even spacing, awful clashing colors and fonts, using dated animated Gifs, and including unnecessary tables of contents. So here's the what not to do of email marketing. Onto some real life examples. I often see small businesses in particular scan or take a photo of their brochure and then just use that as their email. It doesn't work. And unfortunately, this is an even more common example of emails going wrong. We see some really big brands making this mistake, including so many images with no alt text give your readers a really bad experience. This is because some email clients and some of our customers switch off email, images by default. This is why you have to test every single email in every single email client. Otherwise, you run the risk of a mangled email like this. And finally, I always think it's funny when I received an email addressed to unknown or first name or unspecified. Make sure you test your wildcards and always have a fallback in place in case someone has left that field blank when subscribing. I talked about resending emails earlier and when it's okay. This is not okay. Sending the same email with the exact same content and subject line only 2 days apart. That's a surefire way to annoy your subscribers and get deleted. This is a really good question, and it's unfortunately something that can often be overlooked in favor of designing stunning emails, but it's so important that your emails, web forms, and landing pages are easily accessible for everyone. Here are some of the things to keep in mind to ensure your emails are able to satisfy your customers' needs and remain accessible. Use responsive email templates and test that the service can be accessed on all common browsers and devices. Ensure that you're using alt text for all of your images, because this will help people with screen readers. If you want more info on the technical side of things, check out the website up on screen. This is the standard that was established by the Australian federal government to help ensure content is accessible for everyone. There's also a few design tips to keep in mind to ensure your emails are able to remain accessible. So always include a text-only version of the email. Clickable links should be large and placed in obvious location. This will help people who may not be able to control a mouse with precision. Use larger font size to accommodate visually impaired users. Anything below 14 pixels requires more effort to read. For those with colour vision deficiencies, complex colour schemes can be confusing. Use colours with high contrast to help elements stand out from one another. Establishing a clear hierarchy helps those with cognitive or neurological diseases. Following a predictable flow will help users navigate through the email more easily. When selecting which font type to use, choose ones that are evenly spaced out and not too condensed. All right, now we're heading back over to Jamin for our final question.
Thanks, Kelly. That was awesome. Now let's move on to the last question of this webinar. As we see, email clients traditionally follow the web browsers. Now, web browsers moved from text-based content to HTML and then moved to responsive HTML5, jQuery, and CSS3 animations. Similarly, email clients have moved from plain text emails to responsive emails, and then now they are moving towards interactive emails. So this is where we see interactive emails as the future of email marketing. So the question is, what are interactive emails? Well, using CSS animation within email is what we call interactive emails. At our monastery, we have successfully implemented many interactive animations like sliders, accordions, navigations, menus, and more for our clients within email. Interactive emails not only drives user engagement, but also improves your click-through rates. Now let's look at some of the examples of interactive emails. Say sliders. Now sliders within emails can be really effective in grasping the reader's attention, as it can easily highlight and promote multiple offers at the same time. Say accordions. You can use accordions to make your emails look shorter and smarter, specifically in mobile devices by stacking up the content in different tabs. Say navigations or drop-down menus. Now sending out emails with navigations will not only improve the overall user experience, but also improve the click-through rates. So countdowns. Now countdown in email can create a sense of urgency and excitement among the readers. And it can let your readers know the time left for your next big sale or event to begin. Flip and scratch effect. Now using flip effect in email, you would be able to showcase the products along with its information or on flip or probably the alternate image. The scratch effect can be amazingly used for attractive discount codes and coupons. Now the question is, do all email clients support CSS interactivity within email? And the answer is not yet. However, all Apple email clients support CSS animation within email, and 55% of emails in 2015 were opened using Apple email clients, whether it is iPhone, iPads, or Macs. While for rest of the email clients, the option to provide a strong fallback support is always possible. So at least you can wow 55% of your subscribers by opting for this cutting edge interactive emails. To experience interactive emails in your inbox, go to emailmonks.com/go interactive. And that's the top 15 email marketing questions. We have been flat out answering all your questions. If you have any more, please don't hesitate to contact us. As I mentioned at the start, we have recorded this webinar and will be sending out a copy of the webinar shortly.
Thanks everyone for coming along. If you'd like to keep on top of the latest and greatest email trends, make sure you subscribe to the Vision 6 blog. Additionally, we have other webinars coming up, such as Boost Sales and Conversions with Email Marketing and the latest trends in email marketing. The URL to register is on screen. And if you need any help with email design, then get in touch with the amazing team at Email Monks. They'd love to help you out. And as you've just seen from the interactive emails, they can do some pretty cool stuff.